Masechet Hullin Daf Lamed Bet Amud Aleph, 9 lines down, Nu Mishnah. Nafla Sakin Vehegvia, if a knife fell out of his hand, and after he started cutting, and then he picked it up. Naflo Kilav Biyan, or if his garments fell from slaughtering, and he stopped to pick it up. His Hiza Zakir Be'af. Let's say he sharpened it, and then became tired. About habit of his hat, and in the middle of cutting, his friend came and cut it for him. Im Shahagadish Aitav, any of these cases, the guy paused as long as it takes to slaughter, his last pasuk. Rabbi Shimon says, Im Shahagadish Aikur, that is, if he paused as long as it takes to examine the knife, then it's pasul, not the amount of time to slaughter. My Kaddish Shaita doesn't mean time to slaughter. Marav Kaddish Shaita Bema Charetz, as long as it takes to slaughter an animal in general. Maria Lara Bakana Asarav Kaddish Shaita Bema off. Does that mean animal for animal, bird for bird? Or for maybe that amount of pause time does not make a difference for a bird and you still have that same amount of time for an animal. Seemingly bird would be quicker. Marlahu, lo have bedid haber habibi lashli. I wasn't on best. It wasn't the best time to ask him these type of questions. To my uncle. It might have says Marav Kadesh of Shmuel Marav Filu Behema of Mahloket. Echina Keta Ravina Marbi Yochanan Afilu Behema of he agrees as well. This opinion of Yochanan says that even an animal time for a bird. Rabbi Hanina Amar Kadesh Yavi Behema Achari shows how long time it takes to bring another animal and slaughter it, which is much longer than just the amount of time to slaughter it. Yavi Afilu Behema seems like bring it from anywhere. But then if you're saying amount of time is for you to bring the animal, it sounds like every single person would be subjective to that amount of time. We don't want to give different times to different people. The Gemara says, Tomar case where you're bringing another animal that was nearby and throwing it to the ground and preparing it for slaughter. Man, the time it takes to lift, lay down, and slaughter the animal. Large animal, large would be longer. Someone slaughtered with a dull knife. Even if he's doing it all day, kishirat's kasher, as long as he's without stopping. If the guy pauses, Maushi food. The pause a few times, the short pauses, do the short pauses combine or not? Maybe you can answer from Rava's question just now, seemingly from the blunt knife, dull knife. Seemingly he paused in between. The Gemara says, no, Hatim doesn't have over there, but the knife wasn't paused, therefore we don't know. Someone paused after slaughtering the minority of the pipe. Is that considered a pause? Right, so he cut 51%, and the last 49% he paused. Is that pause still a problem because he already cut the majority? The Gemara says tego. Rishon about imsha haged be quarter. Man thinks to examine the knife. What does that mean? Rabbi Yochanan, Gedish be how long it takes for Hacham to check the knife. Im can't tell you that's the case, then you're again giving a time that's subjective to each Hacham checking the knife. The Gemara says no. Ela kadei be quarter tabah Hacham. It's referring to a professional Hacham who's a slaughterer. Yeah, that's not so long, and that's a set time. No Mishnah Shahad Veshet Upasakat Gagoret. Someone slaughtered the esophagus and then tore the trachea with a blade that had a nick on it. Oh Pasakat Shahad he tore the trachea and then slaughtered the esophagus. Oh Shahad Hamehem Tin La Achmetan, or if he cut one pipe and waited for it to die. Oh Shehari Sakin Tahad Shnei, or after he cut the first pipe correctly. He then borrowed the knife in the second pipe to cut it from backwards. Rabbi Shuvah Amar Nevla, Rabbi Shuvah says Nevla, Rabbi Akiva Amar Terefa, Rabbi Akiva says Terefa. Nevla is an animal that shahita, Terefa is an animal with a fatal defect. Kla Amar Rabbi Shuvah Mishum Rabbi Shuvah, he had a general rule. Kla Nesla Mishita Nevla. Whatever became pasul through slaughtering, it's considered Nevla automatically. Kol shahita Karaui, whatever is slaughtered properly. With and anything else that caused it to become pasul, Terefa, Terefa. Vadu Rabbi Akiva then agreed. Shahad the Veshed, I'm first case in the Mishnah, he slaughtered the first pipe good and then the second pipe he nicked. Vadar Rabbi Akiva ended up agreeing. Ramini Stira says, Elo to the following conject to the Terefa. Nekuve, Nukubata Vesed Sakata Gegere, the esophagus had a hole where the trachea became cut. Seemingly anything can become possible through slaughtering. It's considered Nevilah. Arguing against what we said and Rabbi Akiva agreed. The Gemara says, Armar Vala Kashad Asira. Kain shahat v'sof pasak. In our Mishnah, it's one case where he cut it and then tore it. Kain shapasak v'sof shahad. In the second case, it's one where he tore it first and then he cut it. Shahad v'sof pasak. And it said b'shitahi. If you cut it and then tore, that's becoming pasul through slaughtering. Pasag b'sof shachar, but if you first tore and then slaughtered, it's considered like a different thing made it pasul because you didn't start the shechita process when it became pasul. As the Rava Habar Nerva, Shahad Tevesh Pasaga Tegeret, if someone cut the esophagus well, then tore the trachea, Pasaga Tegeret, Raha Shad Nefila, or vice versa, and Nevila is considered Nevila, right? Doesn't make a difference which order question. The Gemara says, Emma, no, in that second case, Toma case, of course, Shahad Tevesh, the Beikara Toma case, we already slaughtered you cut the esophagus. The Gemara says, Amal Belev, Shteh Hatshifu B'Dvar. Two problems with that answer. Had the Dahin Kumar, that's the case, that's the first, then both cases are the same. But another problem is, Had Tanya Raha then we said it was in the Braita, it seems that thing. Can't say that it said something else. The Gemara says, Ela Marava, Elu Asur, kind of Mishnah is mentioning which are animals are Asur. V'yeshman Nevila, V'yeshman Terefot, some are Terefot, some are Nevila. The Gemara says, V'leshov Nami Yad Hizkiah, Wenchman, Hizkiah's case as well as a Nevila. The Gemara Hizkiah Asa, Gistira Nevila. Hizkiah said if the slaughter cut the animal in half, it's Pasul. V'leshov Nami Yad Elazar, also mentioned in Elazar's case. The Gemara Elazar, Netila Yeref HaHalav Shala Nevila. If the animal's thigh was removed and then you could tell if the thigh was removed, that's an Nevilah immediately, even while it's still alive. The Gemara says, so how can we mention those? Because then Nevilah, we mentioned Nevilah. Tilam Tamei Hayim, that's one case where they're not were Tamei while they're alive. Avanella Tamei Hayim, over here, where some cases where it would become Tamei while it's alive, then it's not going to and the two cases are going to be the Azar and Hizkiah, two cases where they're still showing signs of life, and we assume that they're dead from them. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Amar. He said, I don't like that you said before that some are never some terefot. Kan shishhad kum hatach. In our Mishnah, where the slaughterer cut, he's cut in a place where there was this previous cut. Kan shishhad shlom kum hatach. In the second Mishnah, from ahead, is he did not slaughter it anywhere yet. Shahab kum hatach nefslav shitahi. If he slaughtered in the prior cut, that is an animal becoming pasul through shechita. That's a nevela. Shalom kum hatach, but we did not do in the right prior spot. Prior spot. Kidvar Hargad Adam Fazad is considered like a different third party reason why it became Pasul as Trefa. وميار بيشمون نكيش أخير الريح أو ذا عمر بيشمون نكيش شهادة كنا بأخر نكبار Here, if you cut the trachea then the lung became punctured. Kishiras kasher. Alma was even here. Demand demand how you deglot them as if the entire thing was removed from the animal and placed in the basket, and therefore meaning what? That since the trachea is bringing air to the lungs and the trachea are the same. Therefore, once the trachea is cut, it's considered like the lungs are not part of it anymore. Therefore, something were to happen to it, there's no problem. As well. If you cut a prior spot, if you put it in a basket, and therefore should not be considered should be considered a nevila, not terefa. The Gemara says, "Ella amar b'Yehia bar Abba bar b'Yochanan l'kashana sila." Kan kutum hazara. The other Mishnah that mentions that it's pasul is according to Rabbi Akiva before he retracted. Kan la hazara over here is after he retracted the Mishnah, those are the mikvah, but we don't change it, the other Mishnah, because we don't change the way Mishnah are taught. Okay. Kufa, we said earlier, someone slaughtered the trachea, then you cut it, then the lung punctured. Kshiras kasher. Rava says, "Lo Amar Bishmon Lakish, but asking by the lung. How ill the hayara out to the bakar because the lung is connected to the trachea. But not if the intestines became punctured, that won't be kasher." Haskif Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera has a question. Once you say that the animal's mutar when a defect happens between the trachea and the lungs. What's the difference where the defect happens? Mara says, actually retracted. Because Rabbi had a question. What if the intestines became punctured in between the pipes of being cut? Right, it's not like a crazy thing. Imagine someone slaughtering a korban and an animal, and another guy shoots it. So yeah, the intestines got shot after you cut the first pipe. Not that crazy. What's halacha? We say that between the cut and the first pipe is connected to the second pipe, and therefore the nevila, that's in order to consider it not a nevila anymore. Although maybe not. And then he answered, the same question ilfa. Where that was. Of the fetus stuck its leg out of his mother's womb between the first and second pipe of the mother being cut. And my was halacha. We say that they connected the Taramid Levat that's considered Nevila anymore? Oh no, or not? Hold up. Over there, you asked regarding Nevila. Well, but everybody would agree that it's possible because it became a telefon between. Mother of Ahab, maybe did not retract, but Rizal according to Rizal, the Rav Kamar, he's holding, when he's asking that question, he's holding in regard to Ravav. He would say himself that it's pasul, he hasn't told like Ravav. Marba Habar Yaakov Shemam Nami Rabbi Yachid Mishn Bagish. We learn from Reish Lakish. Mizanini Yisrael Bnei Aim. We can invite a Jew to eat in an animal's internal organs. Be'emazanin Avdei Chayim Bnei Aim, but you can't let a goy eat internal organs. Why? My time. Yisrael B'Shkitat Milta. Shahita for an animal is what allows you to eat it. Kevin de Ikashita Me'alta. Once there's a good slaughtering, Ishlut Mutar. Avdei Chayim regarding the goyim. Then Hira Sagilu. They're able to kill it by piercing it. Umitat Milta. And therefore, they have to wait for the animal's actual death to happen. Therefore, the limbs and the organs, which technically stay alive after the slaughtering of the animal or the puncturing of the animal, is considered like something that was separated from the animal while it was alive. That's why it's a sword. I wanted to tell him, is there such a thing that something's mutar for a Jew and a going that sword? Bilam really, but in Zaytin, that mean that had I thought maybe he had a good reason for his reason. We actually knock it out. And so someone wants to taste what meat tastes like before the animal dies. Apparently, we're going to say it tastes good. A person should cut a small portion of meat from the neck when you slaughter it. Salt it well. Then wash it well. You wait for the animal to die, then you can eat it. Jew and Goy are able to eat that seemingly. Again, so we said earlier that even for a Goy, you don't have to wait for the animal to completely die to take a piece. Proof according to him. How does she everyone wants to be healthy? But takes I was something that she tied up. Now you can take a piece from the meat from the slaughter in the neck, salt it and wash it well. And wait, the animal to die. Like we said before, both a Jew and a Goy mutar. Amen.